So it's four men who have been meeting to listen to each other, bear witness to each other's feelings. And this Thursday night meeting of the support group for men is interrupted by an assault that happens in the alleyway, somebody breaking in, a visit from the cops, a triumphal moment of emotional breakthrough, and accidental peyote trip. Then the second act is the fallout from all of that. And everyone learns and grows and deepens as a person and finds the trailhead to what they have been needing. So the serious themes of men revealing themselves and their internal parts getting in their way, not allowing them to reveal themselves, deflecting their pain with humor, turns out to be pretty funny to watch. So that is where the comedy comes from. That sounds really callous, doesn't it? But it's true. There are not a lot of big gags. It's just the really well-written, sparkly rapport of people who, as the opening stage direction says, these are people who speak without thinking. So there's a lot of overlapping dialogue. There's a lot of people getting in each other's ways and in their own ways. It's a very talky show, but it's that shouldn't be daunting. It's also extraordinarily physical and quite funny. These are all characters who, they all have a similar issue, which is that they're terrified of not being seen, of turning invisible. One of the characters actually says, I feel like I'm turning invisible. Nobody sees who I actually am. One of the other characters says, he's a Puerto Rican character, and he says, every time I drive an Uber and they find out that I'm from Puerto Rico, they all ask me the same one boring question: do you guys pay taxes? Like that's it. You've stopped at, I'm from Puerto Rico, and that's the only thing that you want to see. I'm a person. I am a full human being that gets trapped behind whatever model of masculinity gets projected onto their outsides. It's a play about how masculinity, toxic or otherwise, affects absolutely everybody, regardless of sex or gender or identity or ethnicity or age. The move from awkwardly attempting and courageously attempting to bear witness to each other's inner lives into something like genuine connection between men of very different backgrounds and very different lifestyles, that blossoms into really moments of effortlessly tender friendship is extraordinarily moving over the course of the play. And I'm so lucky to have the cast that I have, because they're embodying these people just extraordinarily well. I am learning what this play's about all over again every night at rehearsal. It's pretty great. We're working with a very diverse cast of men who all have their own personal experiences of how their masculinity came to be. Like, one of the first things that I asked doing table work is, okay, what model of masculinity do you think your character inherited? How did it come about, and how does that relate to your own? You know, like we've sort of been making the rehearsal process into our own support group. Like when an issue comes up in rehearsal, for example, I said, yeah, I remember moments when I subconsciously determined that this is what masculinity is. I said, okay, so when I was 14 years old, maybe you guys have been through some of this yourself. I was at a swim meet and I was crossing my legs like this, and somebody came up to me and looked at me and said, how can you possibly be crossing your legs like that? And I realized, oh, men don't cross their legs like this, even though it's objectively more comfortable. And I don't know why, but ever since, you saw it, right? I learned this is how you perform masculinity. So we've all been sharing moments like that with each other, and having the characters discover moments like that. It's it's gotten pretty intense. Occasionally I've had actors doing character work saying, okay, this is getting too close to my actual life. I need a minute. Okay, great. It's really interesting. This play premiered actually a version of the play premiered in 2016 in Chicago. And this version has been rewritten and edited to be set in 2017. So there are references to the women's marches in 2017. The end of the play comes about around the time of the Me Too movement is taking off. So these things got worked into the script. And yeah, I don't generally direct plays that are this all close to up to the minute with contemporary issues, but it's been pretty bracing. I think my favorite line of the play is two characters who look exactly like nothing at all like each other, right? Two very male and very masculine in their own ways characters who look nothing like each other. One of them says, "I have seen all this before." And the other one said, I'm sorry to tell you, man, but this is what every guy in Chicago looks like." And the other one, who is wearing a dress and a wig, says, "I'm a guy in Chicago." So it's the encounter of people's outsides and the blending of that with our assumptions of what gender is supposed to look like. And that's all that gender is, right? Is what are you supposed to look like? It doesn't have anything at all to do with your biology. It's just a collection of assumptions and how your performance of self surfs those assumptions. I think this is an important play. It's going to be important for those of us in the cast and crew, and I think it's going to be pretty healing for the community to be able to see, right, this is how we could possibly talk about masculinity, which we don't talk about at all. We don't talk about enough. One of the characters, Bradford's character, is repeatedly compared to Dirty Harry, the Clint Eastwood cop character, one of the optional models of masculinity. But it's not a play that's advocating for any particular kind of masculinity. It's a play that's examining how those models can be harmful, can lead to disconnection and even self-loathing. Like three of the characters in this play, I'm a 50-year-old middle-aged man who's kind of afraid of dying, who's a little bit embarrassed of the impulses towards midlife crises that he has, and who finds himself extraordinarily isolated a lot. This is an epidemic, right? There's an epidemic of loneliness among middle-aged men, particularly straight men, as it happens. But it's really easy once you've reached a certain point in your life to have been conditioned by our ideology of rugged individualism to be disconnected from other people, including other men. And so to be asked to bear witness to men who are also being asked to bear witness to each other's feelings, and to be asked to bear witness to them making connections that they wouldn't otherwise make. I think it's going to be a useful and valuable model for how men can make connections with each other.